Problem 5 asks us to find an equation of the line with the given properties and then graph both of the equations. So, first of all, part 1 asks us to find a line parallel to y equals negative 2x plus 3. I think the first thing that we need to remember here is that if I want a line parallel to this guy, I'll have the same slope, but different y-intercept. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grab the slope that I'm given, so negative 2. And then the equation of a line parallel will be y equals negative 2x plus b, because I don't know what the y-intercept will be yet. And what our goal here is to do is find b. And we're going to find b using the point that we're given. So negative 3, negative 4. So I'm just going to plug in that point. So I'll label that as x comma y. And we'll solve for b. So I have negative 4 equals negative 2 times negative 3 plus b. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. So negative 4 equals 6 plus b. I'll subtract 6 from both sides to solve for b. And I get that b is equal to negative 10. So the equation of the line that's parallel to y equals negative 2x plus 3 and passes through the point negative 3, negative 4 will be y equals negative 2x minus 10. And let's graph these things now. So I'm going to graph this as blue and the original one as orange, maybe? So using these lines, I've tried to give you a grid here. Let's see. So I'll draw some axes. And maybe what I'll do is I'll label the y-axis. Maybe where each block here is 5. So 5, 10, 15, negative 5, negative 10. So this labeling that I'm doing is going to be dependent on like what things you want to graph, and maybe on the x-axis we'll just go by ones. So to graph y equals negative 2x plus 3, my y-intercept is 0, positive 3. So somewhere right there. And then however it is that you want to do this, like you can use rise over run to say, well, if I go up 2 and over to the left 1, then I get the next point. But what I'm going to do here, just to like show what's happening, is I'm going to find out what the point is. So what if x is equal to negative 1? then I get y equals negative 2 times negative 1 plus 3, which is 5. So the point is going to be, the other point on this line that I'm going to use to draw the line is negative 1 comma 5. And then I'm just going to try to connect these as best as I can. Can I do a better job than that? Okay, that'll have to do. So there's our first line. And then for y equals negative 2x minus 10, the y-intercept is at negative 10. So we're all the way down here. And I'm going to do the same thing as I did before. I'm going to say, what if x is equal to negative 1? And then I'm going to plug in negative 1. So y equals negative 2 times negative 1 minus 10. So negative 2 times negative 1 is 2 minus 10, which is negative 8. So the point is negative 1, negative 8. And I'm just going to try to approximate that on the graph as best as I can. And then draw the line passing through those. Okay, and we've graphed them. So let's move on to the next one. I want the equation of the line that's perpendicular to 4x plus 2y minus 6 equals 0 and passes through the point negative 2 comma 1. So first of all, we need to remember that perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. There is one issue here, though. This equation that I'm given, the 4x plus 2y minus 6 equals 0, is not in slope-intercept form. So I don't know what the slope is. So the first thing I'm going to do here is put it in slope-intercept form. So remember that's y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to try to get y by itself. To do that, I'll subtract 4x from both sides and add 6 to both sides. So I get 2y equals negative 4x plus 6. And then I can divide both sides of this equation by 2 to get y equals negative 4 divided by 2, so negative 2x, plus 6 over 2, which is 3. So I want the equation of the line parallel to this, perpendicular. They both start with P. I get excited sometimes. Perpendicular. I also evidently do not know how to spell perpendicular. So I'll just write it as perp. Want equation of line perp to this. And passing through the point negative 2, 1. So the slope of my new line will be the opposite reciprocal. So I'll take opposite of the reciprocal. The reciprocal of negative 2 is 1 over negative 2. When I take the opposite of that, I just get 1 over 2. So I'll have y equals 1/2 x plus b. And just like before, I want to solve for b. using the point -2, 1. So I'll plug that in, solve for b. (1/2) times -2 is -1. To solve for b, I'll add 1 to both sides, and I get that b is equal to 2. So the equation of my perpendicular line should be y equals 1/2 x plus 2. And just like before, I'm going to graph this in blue, and I'll graph the original one, so y equals -2x plus 3 in orange. And just like before, I need to draw my axes here. So here's the y-axis, here's the x-axis. And I'm going to choose the units on the axes to make it easier on myself graphing this. So I think it should be all right if each unit is just 1. Okay, so let's graph y equals -2x plus 3 first. My y-intercept is 3. And if you want, you can use the rise over run business that we did in class to figure out what the next point will be. I'm just going to plug in x equals 1 and see like what the actual coordinate of that point will be. So when I plug in x equals 1, I get -2 times 1 plus 3, which is 1. So the point's going to be 1, 1. So I'm going to draw that on my graph and then attempt to draw the line going through these. Okay. Finally, for y equals 1/2 x plus 2, my y-intercept is 2. And I can do the same thing here. I can either do the rise over run thing that we did in class, or I can plug in x equals something and try to figure out what the coordinate of the point is going to be. Just for fun, let's do the rise over run thing. So if my slope is 1/2, I'm going to start at the point 0, 2. I'm going to go up 1 and then over 2 to find where the next point's going to go. And then I'm going to draw the line connecting those.